Rewind, refine, and you'll find me inside. By Pinprick. First, there is nothing. A nothingness that you don't register. It is nice, this lack of sensation. Your mind blank for God knows how long. Then there is pain, which unfortunately brings with it the end of the lack of sensation you were just praising. It's like your pain receptors went into hibernation and then awoke with a start to discover they were sleeping on the job. Then remembering suddenly what signals they were supposed to be receiving and sending, and in lieu of the work they've missed out on, has split your head in half. Your hand twitches against an unknown fabric. You blink awake, your vision a hazy blur. Probably from whatever migraine or head injury that knocked you out this thoroughly. From what you can discern from your compromised vision, you are in an unfamiliar room in an unfamiliar bed with unfamiliar clothes on that smell of cigarettes. Now that you think about it, everything is unfamiliar. This is nothing new. You have always been unfamiliar to the world. Why would the world be any different to you? Wait, this raises a very good question. Why does everything hurt? Why do you ache? Why can't you see anything in your close proximity? No, the question that I was going to ask was, who are you? Maybe a better question is, what are you? No, none of those questions are important right now. What is important is that you properly assess your surroundings, find some painkillers, and get in control of whatever shit show has put you out of it. And maybe get a cigarette. But perhaps these questions will lead to something else than an existential crisis. The places these questions will take you are not somewhere you should be right now. Plus, having an existential crisis right after gaining consciousness is something a desperate, sad loser would do. Are you that kind of man? Fine, I'll investigate the depths of my psyche later. Your legs are unsteady and shaky from lack of use, and you almost collapse back into the sheets as you hoist yourself up. This isn't even mentioning the headache. You are in for a world of pain if you don't find some Dramamine. Look for that Dramamine. You stumble around the room, luckily finding an almost empty packet of Dramamine in one of the inner pockets of a bright orange bomber jacket, which lays crumpled beside the front door. The nylon of the jacket is old and thin, yet the jacket looks like it's been well loved and well tended to despite its age. It's clearly not so well tended to anymore. It's grimy and a large stain of some sort of water damage blooms into the front of it. It smells vaguely of salt water. It also smells of those sweet, sweet cigarettes. Please just focus on anything else than cigarettes for a moment. The rest of the clothes you're wearing do also smell of cigarettes though. It's probably yours. Could have been once, but in its current state it looks like nothing you would wear. It's a pilot's bomber jacket, reversible, with a darker, more subdued side and a bright neon orange one, which you're currently looking at. The orange side meant to be highly visible so other pilots could spot you while on landing sites. Wait, are you a pilot? I can assure you that you aren't. See those reflex squares that's been sewn on? Yes? The halogen watermark and logo definitely does not belong to anything associated with airships or airplanes. Pilot or not, it's actually really cool that you even possess one of these jackets. They aren't made like this anymore. Ugh, fine. We can still keep a semblance of dignity if we wear the non-dirty dark brown side out. If the only way to keep looking cool while wearing this relic is to reverse it, then so be it. Reverse the jacket and put it on. The jacket feels achingly familiar as you slip it on, even if the dark ruddy brown side feels less so. It's like an old friend. You rifle around the pockets, which used to be inside it, but have now been dragged out to face the world as the jacket was reversed. You find multiple ballpoint pens, crumpled receipts, a few coins of unknown currency, band-aids, disinfectant, various painkillers. Damn, is this a jacket or a first aid kit? A scratched up pin, a few handkerchiefs, needle and a thread, a lighter, a packet of cigarettes. Fuck, yes. And lastly, a pair of old cracked sunglasses with reflective orange lenses. Put those on immediately, somewhere, anywhere. They go with the vibe you're assembling. Please don't, they look silly. Light up a cigarette immediately, you definitely deserve it. Your hands deftly pick out an Astra from its nearly empty carton, and with a flick of your wrist, in some well-practiced maneuver preserved by muscle memory, light it. Feels good. Like you're finally alive as you take a long drag, head clearing as you exhale smoke. That might very well be just the dopamine kicking in. The nicotine is helping regardless. Investigate the jacket further. You pat down the jacket, searching for hidden pockets or objects you might have missed. You ultimately find nothing that you don't find before. Really, nothing at all. That doesn't seem right. Exactly. It is the absence of something that is the problem here. You run your hands over the jacket again. It has multiple pockets, many smaller and two larger. One of the larger ones is completely empty except for a ballpoint pen. This is the one. That is strange, actually. Every other pocket is filled to the brim, and yet you'd waste space by keeping one of the large ones empty. This doesn't add up. Task gained. Empty pocket? Come back to this later. It seems important. Figure out the glasses situation. All right. Clearly you are putting together a new kind of look with the reversed bomber jacket. Since we've established that the sunglasses are integral to your new style, we come to the question of how to accessorize them properly. This is a silly and vain pursuit. A person's own aesthetics is never a silly pursuit. They might be a way for you to connect more with yourself, or hide from yourself further. Regardless, you need to be the coolest motherfucker in whatever city you are in right now. The question is just which angle we approach this from. You might have an easier time deciding this if you find a mirror. There it is. I need to settle this. Despite your blurred vision, you quickly find the bathroom, picking up as many articles of clothing and accessories you can find along the way. You open the bathroom door, dump your hastily made collection on the tiled floor, and turn to the mirror. I regret to inform you that, like the rest of your surroundings, whatever greets you in the mirror is obscured by your vision. Damned migraine. It might not be a migraine, or a head injury for that matter. You better not be implying what I think you're implying. I can inform you that the objects that are further away from you are clearer. You seem to be extremely farsighted. Don't listen to them. It's the head injury, clearly. Whatever knocked you out and has made you forget everything, which we will still not examine, has obviously temporarily impaired your vision. You are not a binoclard. I would also like to give it a bit of time before jumping to the tragic conclusion that you're a nerd. You are grossly overreacting. Many people wear glasses. This all adds up to bino in my book, especially the fact that you seem to be so insecure about it. Thought gained, the mystery of sight. Okay, this has been a terrible proposition. Let's get back to the fashion track instead. Yes, distract or compartmentalize. After stepping back a few paces, until you have your back pressed up against the opposite wall, the form of the mirror finally clears. What you see is a disappointing sight. The worn shape of a man of middling age greets you, furrows and wrinkles detailing a life that you don't remember living, with a few healing bruises present under your skin, a scruffy smattering of facial hair and yellowing teeth from one too many cigarettes, one of the offending Astras currently hanging loosely from your lips. The hair, once close cropped, has grown out and gotten to the stage where it truly needs to visit the barber. You look like a disheveled man-thing that has been asleep for days, bedhead and eyes still hazy from the memory of unconsciousness. Your appearance reminds you of one of the many drifters and homeless people that you have seen walk the streets, the way that your composure is so frayed at the edges, your face so worn. Okay, so you aren't a young, pretty thing. So what? There's still plenty to work with here. Disheveledness can be artful even, and very attractive to the right people. Change your attitude and you can regain whatever composure you might have possessed. Work with what you have. I know a look you could easily pull off, and that is greasy, disheveled mechanic. Yes, that works. Yes, the jacket, the old white tank top, the facial hair, the cigarettes, and of course the sunglasses. And perhaps also the constant disgruntled look that haunts your face. You quickly assemble a presentable appearance, wrestling your hair into a submission, putting on some cargo pants, a pair of mechanic-esque fingerless gloves, and heavy boots. The sunglasses you plant on top of your head, resting there on your brow in case you need to flick them down for dramatic effect. You've somehow managed to transform your somnambulatory disheveledness into something that looks intentional, maybe even cool. So goddamn cool. A hostile sort of coolness, a fuck the system coolness, a close it off coolness, a lonely coolness. This wasn't a complete waste of time after all. +1 morale. Secret task complete. Get yourself together. Oh, it's you. Finally up again, I see. You've barely left your room before you're greeted by a young blonde woman with the most angular, straight haircut you've ever seen. Some might describe her as beautiful. She's conventionally attractive at least. Not your thing. The thing that strikes you most about her is not her washed-up beauty though, but the brand of cigarettes she's smoking. They smell awful, all vaguely floral, and too sweet scents that mix with her already overwhelming perfume. This woman has terrible taste. Compared to who? You? She's just filling her lungs with her own brand of tar. Let's not be too judgmental here. Do I know you? She blinks for a moment, caught off guard. No, we haven't really talked, officer. Although everyone in the whirling knows about you. What does any of that mean? Officer? You can't be a fucking... Okay, let's keep calm. Yes, collect yourself before moving to the questions here. Don't let your confusion show. Clear the air. Good. Your face remains impassive. You've retained whatever authority you had in this woman's eyes. Don't lie here. Tell her your situation. Just make it seem like it's a minor inconvenience rather than the fact that you woke up with a splitting headache and no memory of anything. Yeah, you should probably downplay that. You clear your throat. First things first. Miss? Classy. You see, Miss Classy, I am having trouble at the current moment recollecting many basic things about my surroundings. I seem to have some sort of momentary lapse in memory, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could answer a few questions. Your voice is calm, monotone, as you deliver the truly baffling information to this poor woman. It's well practiced. You fall into it like a hand in a glove. You had to learn it, so the world would respect you. She stills for a moment, processing, awful cigarette hanging limply from her hand. You walk over to extinguish yours in the ashtray beside her. Unfortunately, due to your hazy vision, you fumble at the edge of the ashtray as you get close to it, burning your hand. Fuck, shit. You hiss and drop the cigarette into the ashtray. Your curses seem to bring her back to the situation at hand, as she says, Sure, of course, officer. I don't mind a question or two. Okay, don't do something like that pathetic display again. There's only so much I can do. Be normal. Ask normal questions. You should get as much information out of her while she's still dumbfounded. You might not have this opportunity again. You called me an officer. Could you explain that? Well, you're a cop, aren't you? She takes a drag of her cigarette, pointedly ignoring your previous fumble. Unless you've been fooling us all this entire time. For all that is good and innocent, why are you a cop? You've asked yourself that question before. You yourself could come up with multiple reasons and excuses. The other officers around you could too. You had a simple answer once. You might still have that answer within you. There's always a reason to hold on to power, reasonable or not. I hate this. You hate this. I don't know how to feel about that. I can't imagine taking that kind of career choice either. She waits for a moment, gauging your reaction. Not that you had much of a chance to do any police work. How so? Well, the first day you were here, you seemed really out of it, muttering to yourself and constantly pulling at your hair. You spent the majority of the time chain-smoking on the balcony and looking over notes. This might be the first time I've seen you calm, officer. She smiles a worn but sympathetic smile. That does not seem like you. As far as we know, that is you. And then, you couldn't really do much more than that. How come everyone knows of me? Well, officer, there are no other cops in Martinaise. Martinaise? Yes, that's where we are, officer. A smile tugs at her lips. It's not much, but I feel quite at home here. You don't know if you do. Well, anyways, when an officer of the RCM shows up, people tend to pay attention. Then, when that officer immediately gets into some sort of accident and is unconscious for 2 days, people pay even more attention. Well, you know what? That explains pretty much everything about your frail body's current state. I've been unconscious for 2 days. Yes, she says it like it saddens her deeply. You can't tell if it really does. I really don't know much about it, sorry. One of the people who works at the Whirling has been taking care of you. Maybe you should ask her. New task gained. Comment house on job? She looks genuinely worried about you, a deep furrow in between her penciled brows. Move on, don't dwell on this now. Whirling? Whirling what? The Whirling in Rags. It's the hostel we're at right now, she thankfully replies, letting the weight of the previous topic slide. So this isn't your home. It would be pretty obvious, if you could see anything within a 3-meter distance. You have had many homes, and yet not a single one has ever felt like home. You came to consider the whole city your home, mostly because it was too sad to admit you've never felt truly home anywhere. Oh, please. You'll always be at home in an MC. Nope, I hate these questions. I can't embarrass myself in front of this lady anymore. Good call. We cannot let this woman see more of your weaknesses. Thank you for your answers, Miss Classy. I think I'll be going now. Despite your best efforts, Classy can still clearly tell how out of it you are. I'm glad I could be of some service, officer. She stops her cigarette in the ashtray, where your failed attempt at being cool has long since gone out. God, don't remind me. This conversation raised far more questions than it answered. Move on, you have other matters to attend to and other questions to answer. Like, for example, what the source of the yelling downstairs is about. You move down the stairs and are greeted with the sight of an old cafeteria. A few patrons sit or sleep idly by. The establishment clearly has no particular early morning crowd. A nice mosaic on the tiled floor catches your eye. A not-so-nice argument between 2 men at the bar catches your ear. You look over at the 2 of them. They are the loudest thing in the room after all, keeping your distance so you can preserve your clear view and not get caught in the crossfire. The younger of the 2, dark hair and weak scruffy chin, is standing behind the bar. He is trying to keep his voice level, but is clearly seething under the guise of sarcasm and professionalism. The other man is much louder, in multiple ways. He honestly looks like a little ridiculous in his heeled snakeskin shoes, flare-cut disco pants, and black overcoat with RCM written on the back. That man is a cop. Just look at the entitlement and authority he has. Maybe he knows you. We are under no circumstance associating with that guy. The argument, which seemed serious at first, has devolved into discussing the taxidermied bird on the wall. It's a skua. You know what? Fuck that bird. The disco cop flips the skua at the bird. You will not touch the bird or anything else in this establishment. Actually, I think you should leave this establishment right now. I will not leave until you tell me what happened to the guy from the 57th. This argument has clearly run its circles in a while. Light another cigarette and lean back. This is pretty entertaining. I can't because I don't know. Sylvie knows, not me. So please just leave, sir. He flounders for a moment, trying to remember a term. Disturbing the peace. Yes, can't you see all this peace being disturbed? He gestures around the room, but as soon as he lays eyes on you, it seems his brain short-circuits, his mouth agape, completely stunned. Damn it, you were just about to light that cigarette. You feel suddenly intensely uncomfortable, like you've been caught doing something you shouldn't. The disco cop looks between you 2 frantically, just as lost as you. Lean up against the wall, look unbothered by whatever is happening. You lean up against the wall, but, having forgotten that you were mid-lighting a cigarette, your lighter slips out of your pocket and falls to the floor. The sound of the metal container clattering to the floor is deafening. You awkwardly pick it up. You've somehow made the mood more stifling. How are you awake? The man behind the bar mutters. Wait, is that? His eyes light up, having processed information you haven't. The younger man nods. They're both silent again, still trying to figure out what to say next. Okay, get this under control. This conversation is yours to drive forward. Grip those levers for your life. Take those metaphorical levers. I don't think I get what you two are referring to. Would you two gentlemen care to inform me what I'm missing here? Good, steady, professional tone. Natural, passive authority. Curious, where did you learn this way of addressing people? You used it on Classy as well. Like a sticky second skin, this isn't how you want to interact with people around you. I say we drop it as soon as possible. Don't. Thought gained. Cold-hearted professional. Both men interrupt each other with various words that you can't quite make out over the race to sound more surprised. You're supposed to be in a coma. Holy shit, did we summon you by saying your name too many times? I checked on you an hour ago. Wait, no, we never said your name. Do I even know your name? Is this a miracle? Am I dreaming? Nice to meet you. I'm Lieutenant Double Freighter Harry Du Bois. Dolores Day. Just shut them up. You clear your throat. They fall silent again. Might I add, before you two continue whatever you were saying, that I'm currently having a bit of a trouble remembering details of my immediate situation. I do not recognize either of you, and it frankly surprises me that you recognize me. You are obliterating them. They're speechless again. A pretty good trick, honestly, this blasé way of informing people you've got memory loss. The disco cop, who you think just introduced himself, quickly decides just to roll with it. Well, thank the innocences that we haven't met before, officer, or this would have been more awkward than it already is. He gives you a goofy, slightly apologetic grin under his bushy mustache while reaching out for your handshake. Lieutenant W. Freighter Harry Du Bois from Precinct 41, in case you didn't hear before. Despite still being visibly intimidated by you, his recovery into a sort of camaraderie is a little charming. Even with your terrible vision up close, you can make out a very obnoxious, quirky tie in the vague haze that is Lieutenant. It's bad, yet endearing. Remember what I said, this man is a white, loud, entitled cop. He is not quirky or charming. Don't fraternize and don't shake his hand. You may not know each other, but you are colleagues. Shake the lieutenant's hand. Look at the hand, acknowledge it, but remain unmoved. Okay. He retracts his hand, disappointed. Well, good to meet you, officer. He waits for a name to come. You even forgot your name? Of course you did. It's not like it was more important than anything else you've forgotten. Sorry. You dwell on for a moment on how to refer to this guy. Professional but disrespectful seems to be what you're going for, right? Sorry, Freighter. Need I remind you that I'm having an episode of amnesia? I don't know my name. I didn't even know I was a cop until 10 minutes ago. Harsh and cold. Maybe you should be nicer to him. Never. Ah, shit, yeah. Almost forgot that. He pulls some sort of expression at his own terrible and rather insensitive joke. When it clearly proves ineffective, he changes topics. Well, guard here was just telling me about how an officer from the 57th, that's you, by the way, had been comatose for 2 days in this hostel without anyone informing the RCM, that's us, the cops, about their downed man. And not only that, but also how nobody had reached out to any medical professionals in that time. Then there's this now, bartender guard. The officer in question has lost his fucking memory after not receiving adequate care for his injuries. What do you say to that? He leans over the counter of the bar in a mocking way as he lists the hostel's inadequacies. It's like he's suddenly gained many good arguments now that the fellow officer is there to back him up. Listen, he looks a little more nervous with your presence here. Firstly, I'm not a bartender, I'm a cafeteria manager. Secondly, I was not there at any point during those days. That was Sylvie. I just came in today because Sylvie suddenly needed to take some time off. I can give you her number and she can explain the details. If you can find a phone, that is. The lieutenant nods enthusiastically and pulls out a ledger as the guard tells him the number. You instinctively feel obligated to write down some notes as well. Your hands, unlocking some old muscle memory, reaches directly for the big empty pocket in your jacket. It ultimately comes up empty. Yes, that makes complete sense. The amount of ballpoint pens and the size of the pocket perfectly matches with some sort of notebook. Task complete. Empty pocket? Calm down, smart guy, we need to find that notebook. Why? Isn't the beauty of deductive reasoning enough? Finding that notebook might be pertinent for your job. Or, remembering who you are. Task gained. Notebook of the past. While you've been pondering your large, empty pocket, your fellow officer has been needling guard some more. The cafeteria manager is clearly done with this conversation. I've given you all I can, sir. Fine, let's go then, officer. He begins to turn away. One more thing before you leave, though. He turns to you, the already familiar look of annoyance immune to your authority. You have a bill to pay. Excuse me. You raise an eyebrow. Yes, I know you've been unconscious for 2 days, but you still have a bill of about 80 real. What? Look at this man. Not the least embarrassed about asking this of you. Shameful. You are an injured officer of the law. There are always bills to pay in a city like this. You're asking me to pay you for what exactly? You can feel the mask of professionalism you were previously wearing slipping. Staying at the Whirling in Rags for 3 nights and a bit of extra expenses for overtime and food. Have you considered that I didn't willingly stay here for 2 of those nights? Your eye twitches. Just pay me back the money you owe by the end of the day, officer, he says with a sigh, like you're being the one difficult. This filthy little opportunist. His looks could kill. You can feel your composure fraying at its edges, hands shaking. You're definitely about to do something as Freighter gently, but forcefully guides you away from guard. We'll figure this out, officer. No need to murder the guy. Do something violent and illegal. You audibly grind your teeth, taking in a short breath. Freighter looks down at you for a split second before you wrest yourself out of his grasp. You're like a bullet train, headed straight towards violence. For a split second, you see the fear in guard's eyes as you leap towards him. Unfortunately, something, or rather someone, catches you mid-air and you're pulled away before you can even lay a finger on the piss stain of a cafeteria manager. Fuck. Okay, chill, officer. I said you didn't need to kill him, he says as he in one fell swoop throws you over his shoulder and begins walking towards the exit, clearly having sensed your violent intent. Oh, baby. No time for that kind of bullshit. This man is preventing you from causing guard grievous bodily harm. Let me down. That piece of shit has no right to ask me for money. I've been in a fucking coma. I'm not even sure what money is. Let me at him, Freighter. You struggle and snarl. Great. You've ruined everything. Lieutenant Du Bois and no other citizen will ever respect you again. So much for calm, diplomatic professionalism. Fuck that. Screaming feels good. No matter how diplomatic your tone was, you would never be fully respected by the public. Listen, I know rent and subsequently capitalism is infuriating, but just calm down. He keeps you steady even as you struggle to escape, surprisingly strong arms keeping you in place as you shout obscenities at the cowering guard. Never calm down. Die angry. You kick, seethe, and make a further scene. The clientele is going to have an interesting story to tell about what happened down at the Whirling this morning. Pathetic. They must think you're pathetic. I swear to God, guard! You yell one last time as you're transported out of the cafeteria. The bell jingles sadly as the door closes behind you and your freighter. You're greeted with the sudden windy chill of an early coastal spring. You shudder, partially from rage and partially from the cold. Everything suddenly becomes very quiet besides your heavy, angry breaths. Martinaise is calm. It's sobering. You alright? Ready to calm down? He pats you back, still effortlessly carrying you around. Take a deep breath. You can salvage this. Harry is actually concerned for you, thinking you might be out of it in more than one way. He radiates an instinctive care, like the dog he is. No, but I'll try. I'm sorry about that. You clear your throat, which feels raw from screaming. Everything you just did back there was embarrassing. Immediate regret hits you hard. He walks over to an MC parked a few paces away and sets you down gently. Capri 40, KR18GU engine. Simple, sturdy, with no visible modification. So, he tries to clear the air, move on. As a cop, he doesn't really know what to think about you, although Lieutenant W. Frater Harry Du Bois has seen worse. Been worse. You said you weren't even sure what money was? He cracks a tentative smile. Embarrassing, I know. Let's just move on. Oh, no, I didn't mean to judge. I was just curious. And concerned. But yes, let's get back on track. I assume since you, he makes a gesture at his head, can't remember much, that you don't really know why you're here. No, I don't. Also, one quick question. Why don't we know each other? Well, we're from different precincts. I'm from the 41st, and you're from the 57th, as far as I know anyways. Martinaise isn't really any precinct in Revachol's responsibility, so this case is split between our two precincts. Revachol. The name stirs something within you. There's some precinct politics going on as well, but don't worry about that. That's partially also why I'm 3 days late, which I'm really sorry about, by the way. No one had any idea you were in a coma or whatever it actually was. But from now on, I promise I'll be here to rely on partner. He makes a big sweeping gesture at the last statement, a dumb grin on his lips. Partner? Something within you feels wrong. Thank you, Frater, you say softly. His grin falters, picking up on your tone. There's a moment of quiet. It feels too long. So, what is this case that we're supposed to be working on? Well, it looks like a lynching. We're dealing with a rotting corpse which has been dangling from a tree for a week. You think you can handle that? Of course you can. Besides, it can't get any weirder than this morning has already been. Though it'd be a lot easier to bear with another cigarette. Yes, you say, as your hand reaches for your pack of Astras. End chapter.